You ever plugged in your RV and noticed that your lights are dim, or the water pump won't run, or that your house batteries just aren't charging? Well, chances are your power converter may be the culprit. So today, we're breaking down exactly what an RV power converter does, why it might fail, and how you can troubleshoot it safely. But what exactly does a power converter do? Your RV power converter is basically the heart of your 12-volt system. It takes 120-volt AC power from a shore power source or generator, and it converts it to 12-volt DC electricity to run lights, fans, water pumps, and other DC appliances. It also converts that power to charge your house battery. Without it, your RV's electrical system just can't function properly, even with fully charged batteries or a reliable shore power connection. So, what are some common signs that your converter isn't working? Well, some common symptoms include things like dim or flickering lights, 12-volt appliances that aren't running, batteries that aren't charging when plugged in, or even an unusual buzzing noise or sometimes even burning odors coming from the converter. Now, if you notice any of these, then it's time to troubleshoot. But before you start, we have to talk safety. Many of the troubleshooting steps that I'm going to outline today are fairly simple. However, if at any point you're uncomfortable with electrical work, which I completely understand, please don't hesitate to call a certified RV technician. I will add a link in the description below to help you schedule an electrical inspection at your local Camping World. All right, and with that said, let's start with some basic checks. The first one being confirming shore power. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you want to ensure that power is actually reaching your RV by verifying a few different things. The first one being that the pedestal breaker is in the on position. You'll also want to check that any external surge protector or built-in electrical management system isn't limiting electron flow due to a detected electrical issue. And then you also want to make sure that your RV's main breakers aren't tripped. If all that's good, the next thing you want to check is your battery. So you'll want to perform a basic voltage test on your RV battery. A dead or damaged house battery can make it seem like your converter isn't working. So to do this, you'll want to use a multimeter. You'll want to set it to measure DC voltage to test your battery's charge. Now ideally, a standard lead acid RV battery should read somewhere between 13.6 and 14.4 volts when your RV is plugged into shore power, and that just indicates that the battery is actively charging. So to test for a bad battery, you want to disconnect from shore power and cut 12-volt power by either using a battery disconnect or simply just removing the negative battery cable from the battery. Then you'll wait approximately 15 to 30 minutes or so. In that time, the measurement should still remain between 12.6 and 12.9 volts DC. That indicates a fully charged battery. A bad battery's voltage is going to drop significantly during this waiting period, which is going to help you identify whether the battery is actually the culprit rather than your converter. All right, after you verify that you're using a healthy RV battery, you can next check your DC fuse panel for any blown fuses and to confirm that the AC breakers feeding the converter are on. Sometimes a simple breaker reset is all that is needed. If you do encounter any blown fuses, ensure they're replaced with a fuse that matches the original voltage and amperage ratings, which are commonly found right here on the old fuses. Now, after we've checked our breakers and fuses, the next step is going to be just to listen for the small cooling fan that's typically installed with most of your RV power converters. If the fan isn't spinning when the converter is under load, meaning that you have some 12-volt appliances on, then the converter can actually shut down. So if the fan isn't working, the next step will actually be to check for obstructions. We'll want to check for any loose connections or any kind of wiring issues. Unfortunately, this will require gaining access to the converter, which I'll discuss how to do shortly. Okay, so by this point, right, we've verified shore power, we checked battery health, we checked fuses and breakers. So the next step is to test your converter's output. Now to do so, we're gonna use our multimeter here once again, setting it to measure DC voltage to check the voltage output at the converter's terminals. Now, this step is probably gonna require removing the electrical panel to gain access to the converter behind it. However, before doing so, it is smart to unplug from shore power and disconnect your RV battery. While we are going to plug back into shore power to test the converter, unplugging is just a smart safety step to remove power from the system while removing the electrical panel itself. Additionally, on top of that, by disconnecting the battery, it's going to help measure just a pure converter reading without having that battery's influence. So with those safety steps noted, a healthy converter output should read somewhere between 13.6 and 14.4 volts DC once we plug back into shore power. When you add a load, that measurement should remain stable between 13.6 and 14.4. If the voltage drops significantly or fluctuates wildly under a load, then your converter may be failing. But additional inspection by a certified RV technician can be super helpful just for the most accurate diagnosis possible. Still, while the electrical panel is removed, it's honestly a really good idea to just visually inspect the wiring, right? You're gonna be looking for signs of melted insulation or any corrosion or loose connections. However, please be extremely careful here. If you notice any issues that you want to examine a little bit further, just ensure that you again remove power, right? You can see I have the lights on, I have power on. You'll want to kill both AC and DC before you touch any potential live wires, connectors, terminals, anything going on in here. Now, even if you suspect that you do have converter failure, that it went bad, in my opinion, it's really smart to confirm your suspicions by having a certified RV tech perform a complete inspection. Now, why would it fail? Well, converters can fail for a number of reasons, right? It can be age and wear and tear. It can be from an overloaded 12-volt system, from a bad battery. You can have overheating from poor ventilation if you put something in front of it, right? Power surges can do it, or again, just even simple wiring issues can unfortunately kill your converter. But knowing the cause can help you prevent future problems, some of which may have relatively easy fixes like replacing the fuses or tightening some of the wires, or again, just making sure there's nothing in front of the vents. But if you notice burnt components, repeated overheating, or your voltage, it continues to remain off after troubleshooting, it's honestly probably time to replace your converter. Now there is some upside here, right? Because modern smart converters, they can extend your battery life, and a lot of them will even work with lithium systems if you're looking to upgrade your battery system. Your RV power converter keeps your lights on, your water pump running, and your batteries charged. And with a little troubleshooting and proper maintenance, honestly, most problems are pretty easy to fix. However, if you're unsure, you should always call a professional. One thing you can be sure of is if you like this video, subscribe for more RV tips and tricks. If you have a converter story or question, simply drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Ian Baker. Safe travels and happy camping.